Jared Rosenholtz here with carbuzz.com, and Kia has flown me out to Atlanta, Georgia to come tour their factory and drive some of their new cars, including the 2019 Kia Sorento and the refreshed 2019 Kia Optima that you see before me. They, of course, gave me an SX fully loaded model, which is the 2.0 turbo. That's the most powerful engine that you can get on the Optima. We have this nice silver finish with a new interior color that I'm going to show you later on when we go inside the car. The silver looks pretty darn good. I like the way it looks with the two-tone wheels. I'll give you a close-up on those later. And Kia has just done sort of a minor refresh on this model. It's not all new for 2019, but it does have a number of notable improvements, which is why I'm here to test it today. As you can see, the grille is inspired slightly from the Stinger with the new Kia corporate look, although the Optima, of course, has its own unique styling. I'm going to zoom in on one of these wheels here. They're 18-inch wheels on the SX model. They're very, very cool. I like how they kind of look like a ninja star. That's kind of what I think of when I look at them. They're very cool two-tone, and it goes really well with the silver. We have our turbo badging here, indicating that we do indeed have the turbo. And I like a lot of the black accents. You can see the black mirrors, the black roof, which actually also hides a panoramic roof, which is great. And then we have that coupe-like roof line here, and we have this nice black spoiler around back that looks really, really nice, really, really sporty. And here you can see SX and then T, GDI, indicating that we do indeed have the turbo model. So I'll talk a little bit more about the horsepower, but that's going to get you 245 horsepower, sport-tuned suspension, everything else. It's a very, very quick little car. Kia hasn't really quoted 0 to 60 on this car, although it's pretty similar to what you'd expect from last year's model. I'm going to go ahead and step inside, and we're going to talk about some of the options that we have here on this fully loaded trim. As I mentioned, a new interior color for the SX trim is this nice red. It's two-tone. The outer parts of the seat are black and the inners are red. We have some perforation, if I zoom in close, that allows for both heating and ventilation. The ventilated seats are actually very, very powerful on this car. Some cars do not do a great job of that. This car does. And we have this nice flat bottom steering wheel here. I'm going to step on in and show you. So the steering wheel here is a flat bottom design. It's very, very nice. Nice metal pieces here. We've got paddle shifters on either side. I'm going to go ahead and start her up here. I'm going to go through a system check, as all Kia cars do. I'm going to close the door. We have this. It is a 7-inch or 8-inch touch display. It's actually standard on all models, which is very, very nice. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the optional trim levels on this car. We have the fully loaded trim, which means we have all of our safety assists here, although those are actually standard on every model, which I'll talk about a little later. We have our power memory seats. We have our dual automatic climate control here. We have our USB port and other charging down here. We have some nice storage here, some cup holders, and of course our center console, which is wrapped in nice leather. Our heated and ventilated seat controls, our drive mode controls. If I come over here, I'll show you. We have Eco, Sport, Smart, and Comfort. The Smart is going to switch between comfort and sport depending on how you drive. It actually works extremely, extremely well in sensing how you drive. And the sport mode doesn't make a huge difference. We don't have adaptive suspension or anything else like that on this car. You know, it's going to tune the throttle and the transmission and stuff like that. It doesn't make a world of difference, but this car is actually pretty nice to drive in all of its driving modes. We also have, I'm going to step out here so that I can give you a better look. We have a panoramic roof on this model. So that roof's going to go all the way back to the back, which is really nice. It gives you a nice airy feel. I really enjoy that. And for 2019, Kia hasn't done that much to change the Optima. There are some smaller changes. I believe the steering wheel is new. I think the seats are slightly redesigned. But it isn't a completely new vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to step outside and we're going to go for another lap around the vehicle where I talk about some of the trim levels that you can get on this car. So the base engine is going to be that 2.4 liter, 185 horsepower. That's the LX trim. And one of the things that I found really impressive on this new 2019 Kia is you're going to get a lot of safety as standard. Blind spot monitoring, park distance warning, rear cross traffic warning, forward collision avoidance, lane change assist, lane keep assist, lane departure warning. All of that is standard even on the base Optima. That is a whole lot of safety technology, and I don't think there is another mid-size sedan in this category that can beat that. Even on the base model, that's crazy. You don't have to spend any extra money. All of that just comes with it. If you want to get a few more options, the S trim is going to add 18-inch alloys, fog lights. You're going to get a 10-way power seat with lumbar. You're going to get cloth and leatherette seats, dual zone automatic climate control. All of the cars are going to have that 8-inch touchscreen display, which is going to have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And you're going to get power front windows with auto up and down, push button start with smart key, and an immobilizer. Then there's the EX, which is going to get you a 178 horsepower 1.6 liter engine with a 7-speed dual clutch. That's sort of the eco option here, and that is also going to include automatic cruise control, leather seats that are heated, leather wrapped steering wheel. So that's sort of the eco model if you want it. And then we have this, the SX, which is the fully loaded, nicely optioned trim. I don't know if there's going to be options on top of this car, but it comes very well equipped with sport tuned suspension, 6-speed automatic, 18-inch wheels. You're going to get that panoramic sunroof as standard. That is not optional. 12-way driver seats with the heated and ventilation. It's really, really great. Even in the back here, I'm going to go ahead and bring you around to the back seat. Again, we have this beautiful red interior. I'm going to go ahead and sit down. I have plenty of legroom back here. It doesn't feel quite as big as the Honda Accord, but it feels similar to something like a Camry or maybe even a Mazda 6. It is very, very roomy in here. The interior is just very, very good on materials. Kia has done just such a good job lately of designing their interiors. And finally, I'm going to come around and show you the trunk space, which is very good indeed. There's not really a lot of intrusions here. Some of the cars in this segment tend to have wheel wells that take up a lot of the space. This car does not. And the pass-through is a pretty good size. Not the best that I've seen, but certainly not the worst. And if you do want to get back there, you just have to pull on one of these tabs here. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I suppose you probably now have to come around and pull it down. Yep. And the seat will fold. I wish it would just drop. It's a little annoying that you have to then come around and do that to make it drop, but it's really not too bad of an ergonomic issue. You can fit all of your stuff back here just fine. Now, pricing has not been announced yet for the Optima, but higher trim Optimas have been edging near what a base Stinger will cost, and I've had a lot of people ask me, well, do I buy the base Stinger or do I get the Optima? And that's really going to be up to you. I've told people that the Kia Stinger is a much sportier, larger car. You get the lift back, you get a little bit of a bigger back seat, but it's hard to argue that with this car, for the price, you're getting a fully loaded car with heated and ventilated seats, all of the safety features, and a panoramic moonroof, whereas for the same money, you're getting a very, very basic Kia Stinger with the 4-cylinder. So this is a very, very good car to consider. And now I'm going to go ahead and take it on a drive so that you can really get a feel for how this car sits in the segment. All right, so now I'm going to drive the Kia Optima Turbo, and from behind the wheel, it's no Stinger, but this is a very, very impressive midsize sedan. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my foot down. The engine sounds pretty darn good for a 4-cylinder. It downshifts extremely quickly. It's a 6-speed automatic, sending power to the front wheels, and that's a little bit dated now that even a Toyota Camry has an 8-speed automatic. The Honda Accord has a 10-speed, but I could sit here and complain that more gears is best, but I'm not going to, because every time I put my foot down, whether I'm in sport mode, comfort mode, or even eco mode for that matter, it just downshifts and goes. I'm gonna put my foot down, there's the downshift, very quick, didn't have to wait very long for it, and the power comes right there. So I could complain that this is a 6-speed automatic and these other transmissions maybe get better fuel economy, but I really don't have any complaints about the 6-speed. It's very good. I can take control of it using the paddle shifters here. It's pretty good on the downshifts. There it goes on the downshift. I can shift up. It shifts pretty quick. It's obviously not as fast as some of the best automatics in the business, or as the dual clutch, or even Kia's own 8-speed automatic, such as cars in the Stinger, but it's really not bad at all. You really aren't going to take advantage of the paddle shifters too much if you're buying a car like this, but it's nice to know that they're there. This steering wheel is very, very nice. I don't think it's the exact same that you'd find on a Stinger, but it's this black leather with nice perforation on the 9 and 3 where you put your hands. It's very nice and grippy, and I like that Kia gives you a flat bottom steering wheel on this, the turbo model. So the car we're driving is the SX, the 2.0 turbo. That's the biggest engine that you can get. Actually, not the biggest in terms of displacement, but the most powerful engine that you can get in an Optima. It's good for 245 horsepower, which doesn't really sound like all that much today, especially given that cars like the Camry with its V6 engine has 310 horsepower. So, and even Mazda with their 4.0 gets 250, and very good torque. The Mazda has 310 foot-pounds, so this really doesn't seem like it would be that much in this segment, but the torque is really good on this engine. It's 260 foot-pounds. So you put your foot in it and it really pulls. It just pulls and pulls and pulls. It dies off a little bit when you're about to get to redline, but through the mid-range, it is very, very punchy. I really enjoy the way this car drives. The steering is not quite as good as what you'd find in the Stinger, but I think it is at least on the same level as the Camry. I really like the steering. We're about to go through some tight bends here, and you have to give it some decent lock. You have to get into it a little bit. You kind of have to turn and then overcorrect a little bit more through the turns, but you get decent enough feedback. It's really not too bad at all. You do feel that the wheel gets a little bit heavier when you put it in sport mode, although it's not as big of a difference as you'd find in some of the lower tier Hyundai and Kias. I just had an Hyundai Elantra recently, and when you put that in sport mode, the steering got way heavier. So this is definitely more on the lighter side. The steering does not completely change and have a completely noticeable feel. So now I'm going to go ahead, we're through some of the bends, I'm going to go ahead and put it back in comfort, and the steering doesn't feel that much different. It's still very, very soft, very light, so you're never going to be uncomfortable in this car. And one of the things for this 2019 model year that Kia has added is the lane keep assist and lane departure assist, and all of that is standard across the board on Optimas. That's fantastic. That's stuff that you normally have to either pay extra or order a higher trim for. And I've turned that on now, and we're on this kind of windy back road, and I can feel it's definitely not a self-driving system. It's not Tesla's autopilot. It's not Volvo's pilot assist. However, I do feel it sort of kicking in when I go around turns. I feel the wheel move just a little bit, and it just, if you're tired or if you're not really paying attention to the road, it really just helps you stay on course. I know I drove this same system on the Stinger, and I really liked it because it's not too intrusive, but just enough to help you out and make you feel safe. If you're the type of person who, you know, likes the safety features, you're really gonna like this. It's really nice. You just feel it kick in just a little bit. If you're the type of person who does not like these types of systems and you think that, oh, it's controlling it and that freaks you out, you might not like this system quite as much. And I've actually turned the lane departure warning off a couple of times. When I'm driving on these back roads, every so often I'll hit one of the lines and it'll beep. Obviously I'm still on the road, but the system tends to be a little bit sensitive. That's not a Kia problem, that's just a personal problem that I have with lane departure warning systems in general. And I haven't had a chance to drive any of the other engines that you can get on the Optima. The base engine is actually bigger than this. It's a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder. That's good for 185 horsepower. Also going out through a 6-speed automatic. I'm sure the power in that is pretty adequate, but this turbo model is very good. I highly recommend it. And then in between those two, you can actually get a 1.6 liter turbo. It's actually the least powerful engine option, 178 horsepower, but it is the most fuel efficient. And you do get a 7-speed dual clutch. That's the same engine and transmission combination you'll find in a lot of Hyundai Kia vehicles, and they do a more economy-friendly tune on that. So I haven't had a chance to drive that either, but that will be available. And I've talked a little bit through the trim levels that are available on this car. Very simple. There's just 4 trim levels. 2 of them are that 2.4. Then you've got a trim with that 1.6. And then you've got this, the SX, the top tier, the one we're driving. And it's really hard to be competitive in this segment because you've just got so many cars. You've got Camry and Accord. You've got the Sonata, the sister car to this. You've got the Chevy Malibu, the Ford Fusion, which is eventually going to die off. You've got the Subaru Legacy. You just have so many cars, it's hard to even keep track. So how does the Optima stand out in that sea of cars? It's not the sportiest. I think the Mazda 6, to me, is still the best driving car in the class. It has very good steering. I still think it looks fantastic. Nor does this have the best interior, because I think the new redesigned Honda Accord just takes the cake. That interior is wonderful. But I do think that the interior is better than the Camry. I think that the way it drives is better than the Camry. I think this is towards the upper echelon of that midsize sedan category. I think the Accord is a little more well-rounded in some areas. It also has a 10-speed automatic, which is pretty advanced. But the Kia Optima is still a very strong player. And as of this test, Kia has not given me any pricing on the 2019 Optima, but I bet that you can score one of these for a lot less than you can score a similarly equipped Honda. Honda just doesn't really like to do deals, and Kia does most of the time. So, you know, when it comes down to it, if you like the way this Optima looks, I think this interior is very good, very high quality, high quality materials and everything. If you like the way it looks and you're able to get a better deal on this than say an Accord, I would absolutely say go for it. The Kia Optima is still a very strong player in the midsize sedan segment, and I would not hesitate to recommend it to somebody. And if you've liked this review and you'd like to see more, subscribe to the Car Buzz Unboxing YouTube channel, and be sure to download our app on iOS and Android. I hope you've enjoyed the video. See you next time.